And I think a lot about of what is misunderstood about my particular filmmaking process is that I get people to go that extra mile that they've never done before, and they go into new territory. They go beyond what they previously thought were their limits, and then afterwards they talk about it like it was a big adventure. Oh man, we worked around the clock, and we all almost died. And it sounds like an indictment of the production as a bunch of wackos, but when in fact they're actually they want to share the fact that they did this, that they did go beyond. They went beyond in their creative capacity as well, and that's why they always all come back and want to do it again. Maybe just not right away. There's a tremendous temptation to do a workaround, or to do a moral or ethical workaround or a shortcut in a lot of situations, because it's easier, and it's just you're so needy to get those little breaks and so on. And I think a lot of people get sort of ethically short-circuited at that stage, and they never recover. Because I think a lot of people would say, well, I'll do what I have to do now, but then later I'll be good. It doesn't work that way. You are who you are, and fortunately, I've managed to get where I am with the occasional burglary aside, without having to really hurt anybody or go against my word. I think ultimately your word becomes the most important thing that you have. It's the most important currency that you have. Having a successful film is very important currency as well, but in the long run, your word is the most important thing. And if you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. Titanic was in some ways the roughest project that I've ever been involved with. And what saw me through on that was that I had a relationship with the people who were quite rightly panicking, but they never completely panicked because they knew who I was, and we always treated each other with a kind of a respect. And I always did what I think was the right or ethical thing throughout that, even though it was costing me millions of dollars personally, right out of my pocket. To do it, I felt I had to do it, or they would never trust me again on another film. And I think that that's ultimately the most important currency that you reap from any situation. Titanic was a situation where I felt, I think, pretty much like the officer felt on the bridge of the ship. I could see the iceberg coming far away. But as hard as I turned that wheel, there was just too much mass, too much inertia, and there was nothing I could do. But I still had to play it through. There was no way to get off. And so then, you're in this kind of situation where you feel quite doomed, and yet you still have to play by your own ethical standards, no matter where it takes you, And ultimately, that was the salvation, because I think if I hadn't done that, they might have panicked, they might have pulled the plug, things might have been very different, the whole thing might have crashed and burned, but it didn't. We held on. We missed the iceberg by that much. I think that it was definitely a goal of Titanic to integrate a very personal, very emotional, and very intimate filmmaking style with spectacle, and try to make that not be kind of chocolate syrup on a cheeseburger, make it somehow work together. The thing that is exciting about filmmaking is to think back to the moment in time right before you had the idea, and think about that at the moment that you're sitting or standing on the set, and there are thousands of people around, and they've built this huge set, and there are all these actors, and there's all this energy and all this focus, and realize that it's all in the service of something that was made up out of whole cloth. That's fun. That's what an architect must feel like when they drive down the street and they look up and see a building that they designed. It's something that you imagined made tangible. I know what I've tried to do, which is tell stories that excite the imagination, and maybe say something at a thematic level, maybe something about the human condition with respect to our human relationship with technology, because ultimately I think all my stories have been about that to one degree or another. And to allow people to step through that screen into that world, whatever it is, whether it's the world of the Abyss or the world of the Terminator or Titanic, to let people live in that create that space for them and let them live in the shoes of those characters for a while. That's what I set out to do. I think it's really up to others to sort of sort it out, what it ultimately means. I just like to do it full bore. For me, it's not about being comfortable. I want to be in there. I want to help the guys move the dolly. I'm at my best when I'm neck deep in ice water, trying to work out how we're going to, keep the lights turned on when the water hits the bulbs. I mean, the more the challenge is, the more I enjoy it, and the more I can lead other people into these situations where they all think they're going to die, the more fun I'm having. So needless to say, we have a few washouts. We have a few people that don't like my version of day camp. But I would say that 80 or 90% of them feel like they've been through something. They've done the best that they've done in their professional careers, and they're usually pretty eager to re-up for another one. As a Canadian, the American dream had a very negative and pejorative connotation when I was growing up, because it was this kind of cultural imperialism. I grew up in a border town on the other side of the border in Niagara Falls, Canada. And but since I moved to the United States at the age of 17, I actually feel very much like I'm probably, in my basic genetic nature, much more American than Canadian, because I really believe in a lot of I believe strongly in a lot of the traditional values of this country in terms of respecting individuals' rights, the rights to the freedom of speech, and a lot of the things that are in the basic fabric of this country. Americans and Canadians, even to a large extent, they come from frontiersman stock. So they're people who hewed their civilization out of the wilderness. It wasn't given to them. It's not like people growing up in Italy or France in the shadow of past glories from thousands of years before. We made what we have, and we don't have a great cultural depth like they do, but what we have is ours by God. And I like that. I like that about it. It sort of puts your hand on the tiller of destiny in a way. And America definitely has its hand on the tiller of destiny for this planet. For good or bad, doesn't mean you know what you're doing necessarily.